Coach took care of business at home on this two-game home streak. Just a little bit of different sides of the same coin with the focus kind of slipping towards the end. I mean, what do you learn from games like this, especially now that the season's kind of coming to a close?
A couple things. There was some plays in the game where it got a little choppy, and I think some lost focus. Sometimes when that happens, it's what manifests itself later, and it was something we actually didn't do a very good job of during the course of the game. But when you foul, especially when you're ahead, you allow the other team to score at the foul line, slows the game down. And I thought that our discipline, in those situations where you're giving up an and one, those 3-point plays, that's how teams get back into the game. And I thought, during those stretches too, it's even more important for us not to turn the ball over. And, those two things, one on the offensive end, one on the defensive end, make it hard for you to hold or extend a lead.
Coach, Trey mentioned in Charlotte that he's trying to make things as comfortable as possible for Zach. What are you seeing from the rest of the guys that's helping Zach just be so successful and have nights like he did tonight?
Yeah, we've gotten really Zach-centric, and it's great because I think Zach, as you guys know, I've talked a lot about what I think it makes him unique as far as his work ethic and his competitiveness. I don't think our team has this grand plan to make Zach successful. I think what's happening is Zach's just playing good basketball. That doesn't mean that what you said isn't true, though. I think the way that Trey's willing to throw the ball ahead, fits into Zach's ability to run. What Zach's done is he started to space more in the half court, and at 6'10", he's open from three, and I think that's a situation where I think Trey finding him both in transition and in the half court, it gives him a chance to play to some of his strengths. And I think, he's like any other guy on the team, and guys respect him, and just like they do, O and Karras and, across the board, so it's good to see a comfort level that he's continued to develop, and I think that's attributable to the whole team, as you mentioned, Trey in particular in some of those situations, and it's Zach too. I think he's doing a good job defensively and on the glass as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's one thing to say run, but it's another thing to run with space and to have spacing recognition as you're running, where you don't have two guys running next to each other, but trying to put pressure on the defense early in the clock, and to get the ball in the paint. I thought today we passed up a lot of threes, and that accounted for some of the turnovers. We talked about that. When we don't take open shots, one, you don't get a chance, to get three instead of two, and the other thing is you don't get a chance to offensive rebound. And the last thing, when you pass those up, usually if you're open and you don't take the shot, whatever happens next, sometimes it works out. But usually that's when spacing is broken down because your teammates expect you to shoot. So I think, we've started to shoot the ball better too. We were getting open shots, earlier in the season. I think we led the league in the QSQ rating. We were getting good looks. But it's affirming, I think, when the ball goes in, the guys understand some of the things that we're doing. There's a purpose to it, and they've been embracing that. Both those guys, I said it to the guys on the staff. I think one of the things that I really like, and the two of them together, is their thinking, and both of those guys have the ability to make plays for other people, and they have the intelligence and the instincts when they are, given the ball in the middle of the lane in a pick and roll situation, or they get it on an offensive rebound and they're kicking it out. They're both good passers. So some of the things maybe that maybe aren't quite as visible. But in addition to that, I think they're, defensively they've been solid. I know O got in foul trouble tonight, but he's been willing to come off his man and come over and help situations. And both of them are doing a good job defensively as well and on the glass.
Your team has won 7 of the last 9. If you had to say one thing that has made the team be as successful as they have been lately, what's that one thing?
I wouldn't talk about 7 out of 9 personally, because I think we could have lost 2 of them and we'd win 5 out of 9, and I just want us to keep getting better. I think we've done a lot of good things. I just couldn't say one thing, but I do think that this is not a time for us to feel good about a winning streak or a losing streak. This is a time for us to continue to try to dig in and get better. And maybe that's your answer right there, that, the team is playing hard and playing hungry. Okay.